Yo, Candace Owens might have just uncovered the biggest scandal of the century. Turns out Kamala Harris was hiding a big secret, y'all. We kept saying that something was going on with her family tree. She wasn't black, yada, yada, yada. So Candace Owens found out that Kamala Harris's grandparent, the dark one that, gave her her blacknesses, was actually the family help. So like a nanny. And pretended as if it was her grandmother who actually died 20 years before Kamala's birth. All while hiding her white grandmother, y'all. Oh, you can look it up, baby. There's proof. It's on and popping. She lied. She lied. And I knew it.
Looking at some of these photos of people who became like family and they're trying to pass them off like relatives. Again, not a fact, a huge question mark. But my instinct tells me that that person is actually not her family member. And if it is, well, Kamala's got some explaining to do. How did she meet Grandma Beryl almost 20 years after Grandma Beryl died?
Y'all gotta go watch Candace Owens' podcast because she got all the deets. But I'm just gonna leave you with this. Kamala Harris is a liar, okay? And she fabricated a family lineage just to pander our votes. But y'all stay beautiful, stay blessed, and stay prosperous.
If we find out that woman is Kamala's real grandmother. I mean, can we get a side-by-side of Kamala? If we find out that is Kamala's real grandmother and that she decided to appropriate the domestic help who potentially died younger as her grandmother, we are watching one of the most diabolical political moves that we have ever seen in the history of this country. I just want to say that. I'm not saying it's true, again, but I'm saying that I don't like the picture. I always find that the dog that isn't barking, the fact that they never mentioned these marriages, the fact that they laughed people out of the room when they suggested that Kamala Harris could be white, and the fact that they just refused to mention any aspect of this and are remaining hush-hush on it, doesn't make me feel good. I don't trust these people. There's something about Kamala saying she's in these streets that doesn't make me feel that she's being honest about who she actually is. I'm not going to let go of this.
I'm just going to say it. The only black that's in Kamala was Willie Brown. All right? We just got to put that out there, man. Come on, dog. We got calendar. We got footage. We got you in 4K. Come on. You don't have a black grandmother. Your grandmother was white and from Cali. The woman in the picture was her father's family nanny. And Kamala told stories about her grandma Beryl and those great memories of her. But Nanny Beryl died 20 years before Kamala was born. It don't make sense to me. And shout out to Candace Owens for doing the Lord's work. I got to keep saying that. She out here doing the Lord's work. Let's read a few of these comments. It says, Kamala is also a medium. She can communicate with dead people. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And before we even show y'all when she went on this podcast, Tag Black, I'm gonna show y'all this clip. First, for all the black women that think Kamala is black, she's not. She's West Indian and self-described South Asian. She doesn't represent African Americans, and she incarcerated many for petty weed charges. And we're also gonna show you how she says she's gonna decriminalize weed now. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, the Democratic Party for a very long time, not just this election cycle, has been doing a lot of active outreach around South Asians, around the API in general, and will continue to do it. I mean, what we know in particular when you're talking about the South Asian community, we're talking about the Indian community more specifically, it is a growing community in the United States in terms of its voting bloc, in terms of its participation, and I think the party knows that and knows that this is part of our collective community, and there needs to be outreach and inclusion.
And certainly you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good.
You could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good.
Listen, you heard her say it yourself. Forget me. Well, her agreed to it herself. You know what I'm saying? Knock on wood. She said, yeah, okay. So same thing. But nobody's falling for Kamala's BS. She went. I don't even know this podcast name, but she went on a podcast with Steven Jackson, and she gave us a new fake accent.
An incredible family and incredible friends. My best friend from kindergarten is still one of my best friends.
That's crazy.
Right? Stacey Johnson.
Yeah, that's dope. I love it.
We used to go to the clubs and her father Seville.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna take a little detour because obviously we're trying to follow Kamala's family tree. And shout out to Candace Owens for being the driving force into this information for us and everybody who's been giving her information to report back to us. But yeah, in this video, we're gonna take a little detour before we get back. Like I said, Kamala Harris start laughing. What's going on? My screen more black than her. Let's just play the clip.
Do you have people in your life who applaud your success? Do you have people in your life who you trust? Do you have people in your life who, when you trip and fall, they laugh with you and then they pick you up and push you back out there? There are people that you know who will be those people if you choose to have them. I am blessed to have an incredible family and incredible friends. My best friend from kindergarten is still one of my best friends.
That's crazy.
Right? Stacey Johnson.
Yeah, that's dope. I love it.
We used to go to the clubs and her father Seville. And so I think that's part of it, right? Because you do need the support to deal with it. And especially, I mean, people who are active on social media, it's hard out there. It's tough. And you have to find things. Like, I love to cook.
I'm just laughing at the host. They was, yep. Love it. That's crazy. Oh man, no, that's dope. I love it, right? Like she didn't get them nothing that they wanted to, respond to. It was so staged, man. When you laugh at your own comment, but nobody joins in, that's a piece of work. That's diabolical right there. She can't even finish a sentence without the cackle. Come on, man. Incredible. Cannot imagine her leading the women's luncheon, let alone the country. But anyhow, back to being on par with following what's been happening with Kamala Harris and her family now. In her family tree, and her lies and her dark secrets that she's trying to suppress from the American people in order to forge her skin color and identity as black. But Kamala must answer for this deranged lie, which is the name of Candace Owens' 75th episode, which is covering this topic. So I will encourage you guys to go to her page to watch it all in full. Right now, we're going to cover about 10 minutes of this segment on, the follow-up to Kamala Harris and her grandmother, who's white,
are feeling some type of way about Kamala Harris. And I think the majority of people just want to know, who is this woman and who does she work for? Well, we left off on quite a note last weekend, or at the end of last week, rather. We have received a lot of information. You guys have been emailing us incessantly. I know I'm not responding to the emails. I am reading them and going through them. I'm creating this really long timeline. I'm also trying to be careful not to overwhelm you guys with too much information because there's so many moving pieces and they all have so many names.
Definitely.
And I've just been carefully organizing things because we have time. We have a little bit of a runway ahead of the election and I want to make sure that I get it right. So we left off interested in Vioris Cambridge Harris McPherson, okay? This is a woman that we believe is Kamala's grandmother, or her mother, really. She looks so much like her. But anyways, her true grandmother, not Beryl, a woman who I believe looks a little too much like Kamala and has been rather conspicuously just left out of the family Jamaican heritage story. So I'm just going to show you the side-by-side of Kamala and Vioris. And we then learned, because someone pointed it out to us, that actually Vioris's birth name is Iris. I can't believe I missed this. I produced the birth certificate and obviously did not read it for details. But yes, if you look at her birth certificate again, it actually says in that second column that her birth name is Iris. Now that explains why whoever created her profile on ancestry.com put Iris in parentheses. On that far side, it says Vioris Anita, and that's her baptismal name. As I've been going through all of these documents, I realized baptismal names are very important, or were at this time, because they then used them and pretended that it was their legal names on other documents. But yeah, so when we see that, and we go, okay, so we now have a grandma Iris. That's very interesting. We know that this woman was born in 1927 in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, and her last name was Cambridge. And I'm wondering, and I'm sure you're wondering, could she be the Miss Iris that Donald refers to so affectionately throughout his piece? He claims in that piece, by the way,
could be,
that Miss Iris's ancestry is unknown to him, right? He also claims that Iris that he mentions is his grandmother. So it would be Kamala's great-grandmother and not her grandmother, which I suspect she is. And I'm going to show you the extremely Black woman that we are shown a picture of. A picture that he claims he captured of Kamala sitting on Miss Iris's lap. Now, I have received, by the way, a note from a woman who is in her 70s who swears that she knew this family and that woman there worked for the family. As we work to get in touch with her, she's a bit older. Trust me, I am on it. I've reached out. I'm going to actually place a phone call later on today to try to see if she'll pick up her phone. She's easier to connect with.
It's getting tricky for you, Kamala. Yeah, you got people now. See, this is what Candace is, great at doing, man. Just put a little bit of information out there, to arouse the curiosity that the American people are already, interested in. And then, you just kind of put the roll call out there and the information is starting to flood. And I'm happy that people are reaching out to us so we can get to the bottom of this, man. It's sickening.
That way to get to the bottom of whether or not she really does know this family. She claims that she worked for the family for so long, didn't want to leave, and that is, in fact, a picture of the help, which would be wild. Absolutely wild if we can get somebody to confirm that. What we do now know for a fact is that Iris Cambridge, so going back to, I'm going to have to start calling them like White Iris and Black Iris, like just because I think it's easier for you guys to know who I'm speaking about. So White Iris, who died in Broward County, we know for a fact now that she is related to Kamala Harris. And I'm going to tell you how we determine that fact. It is now undeniable. Because when Kamala Harris was effectively handed the torch from Biden after they staged an effective coup back in August, CNN couldn't help themselves and immediately ran an article, instantly reminding the world that Kamala's Black. She's Jamaican. Instantly, let's Blackify her immediately. Here is the article that they ran. And it essentially had a title like about her Jamaican roots or whatever. And embedded in the article, it was a man named Sherman Harris. And he was speaking about his second cousin, Kamala. I'm just going to read this to you. It says 3.5 years ago, Sherman Harris gathered together a clutch of family and friends at his home on a hilltop here in rural Jamaica to watch his cousin step into history. As Kamala took the oath of office as vice president of the United States, the room erupted in screams and tears, he recalled. Quote, even talking to you now, I feel some sort of tears from my eyes too. Sherman Harris, 59, said in an interview with CNN, it's like tears of joy. So later throughout that article, he claimed that Oscar Harris, that would be Kamala's grandfather, Donald Harris's father, and his father, Newton Harris, were brothers. So that would make Kamala his second cousin. Okay. Now, if my theory is correct, that would mean that he knew White Iris very well, because we know that White Iris and Oscar Harris were married until death did him part, until he died. Well, guess what we found? That same cousin Sherman Harris, who was featured in that CNN piece just from August. We were crawling through Facebook. We found his Facebook page, and he posted a sweet tribute to his aunt Iris, White Iris. It was a Facebook posting of White Iris's obituary. And beneath that obituary posting, he wrote this tribute to her. There it is. You can see the third one down says Sherman Harris. Rip, Auntie, you're never forgotten. Lasting memories of shared episodes. That is the exact same Sherman Harris pictured in the CNN article. And again, this was posted under the obituary of the Iris Harris that died in Broward County. So this confirms that Iris, the White Iris, is indeed related to Kamala and Donald Harris. If Sherman is telling the truth, this would make Iris her grandmother officially. Kamala Harris must answer for this. She absolutely must answer this. You can.
Yo, that's wow. That's wow, y'all. That's wild. And honestly, yeah, Kamala, you can't run from this. This is you have to respond to this. Like, if Trump throws this section in the ad in some sort of way, it's over. I mean, you already see Trump. I ain't finna make that about that. Let's let her continue. Oh my gosh.
Not be posting up pictures of you with the Black woman saying that it's your grandma. Okay.
Literally lying.
You cannot do that. And then come to find out there was another woman who you look much more like. And we have all of the evidence in the world that she is your true grandmother. That is just, it is too wild. It is just too out of pocket. We are going to need answers to that. Because if what Sherman Harris, who was interviewed by CNN, is saying is true, then there is no room here. There's no situation in which Black Beryl, this woman, is her legitimate grandmother. Okay,
that's just wrong.
And by the way, I
man.
want to say, because keeping up, looking at this Beryl, she in no way favors Donald Harris.
Not even a little bit.
Side by side of Beryl and Donald Harris. Like, what are we even speaking about? If you put this together, how are you getting Beryl from this woman and Oscar Harris? I don't see it. Now, again, genes can be funny, but then when you put him next to our white Iris, I go, okay, look at those squinty eyes here. I could see a little bit of a similarity here. He does seem to somewhat favor her. Again, now we're just believing our own eyes and asking the right questions. What we do know for a fact is that woman on the right, Iris Harris, is related to Kamala Harris, and we need answers, okay? We need answers. Now, also last week, we left you on a tidbit. We were searching for a Christopher Harris. Do you guys remember that? I'm going to briefly jog your memory here. Christopher Harris was the...
Now, before she continues, I'll just say that that level of deception is to, be cautioned against. If somebody's willing to go through great lengths to write in a book, put in a picture in that book and claim that somebody is related to them to a capacity that they not, just to fit in with being Black, literally rewriting your history. Come on, man. I cannot have somebody like that as a president. Hell no.
Anonymous person who signed off on Oscar Harris's death certificate. And we were just imagining, okay, we're looking for information on Donald. We know Oscar Harris was married to Iris Vioris, whatever you want to call her. And I would just imagine that Donald would have been there by his father's side when he died, because when your father dies, you tend to be by their side. Well, I'm going to pull up that death certificate again. This is, again, Oscar Harris's death certificate. And you can see on the bottom there, number 16, if you go right there to the bottom, it says qualification, meaning the person filling this out. The qualification is that he is the son of Oscar Harris. And then it says something about the body being buried, and he signs it off. And we were going, okay, who is this Christopher Harris? Like, this would mean that Donald Harris has a brother. This means that this guy would be definitively be Kamala's uncle.
Uncle, yeah.
Where is he in the world? While we were able to locate Chris, he was also featured in the Kingston Gleaner. That has given us a lot of information, the newspaper, in an article that was dated back to June 24th, 1983, announcing the Council of Jamaicans in Ontario, Canada. I'm going to show you a picture, okay? See these pictures of these people. That one in the middle is Chris Harris. Presumably, that would be Oscar Harris's son that he had with Iris Vioris Harris, okay? It says in the bottom there, the newly formed Council of Jamaicans, and it tells you, again, from left to right, that you're looking at a man named Bromley Armstrong, and next to him is Bev Hayden, and that person who looks rather fair-skinned in the middle is Chris Harris. I find it rather off-putting that Donald Harris does not mention many of his siblings in his piece about his Jamaican heritage. It seems like he's continually leaving out the white people. That just makes me a little bit uncomfortable. I'd almost say it's racist. Just abandon an entire side of your family. Like, don't you find that quite weird that piece so much focuses on introducing and discussing everyone who's Black, but you leave out your own siblings? We've thus far, by the way, been able to locate 2 other confirmed siblings. So these would be the siblings of Donald Harris, the children of Oscar Harris and Iris, our white Iris Harris, who died in Broward County. He doesn't mention them.
Now, I wanted to stop it right there because, man, it's so much that she uncovered in that episode. I will leave the link in the description for you guys to go, check out the full link and, full video and, give her a like, leave her a comment. She even dug deeper into NBA player LeBron James for staying quiet on the Diddy situation and things of that nature. So, yeah, I really have nothing to say outside of, hey, you got some explaining to do, Kamala.